final important first hour political story of 2014 was the election, and basically the Democrats got their asses kicked almost entirely. We dissected it in the days leading up to it and the weeks after it. There were a number of absolutely great reasons that they lost, especially in some of the particular races that we lost, which I'm sure we'll focus on here. It wasn't without some victories, I suppose, in isolated races, but overall it was absolutely horrendous. Their strategy failed, unless you believe the counter-argument is that they would have lost every single seat, perhaps.
They lost every seat they could lose, and then it turned out they almost lost some seats that we didn't think they could lose.
The polls leading up to the election looked absolutely horrendous for the Democrats. Unfortunately, they were also biased towards the Democrats, so it was worse than we in fact believed leading up to it. And that's where we're at. Yeah, they lost the Senate.
The only contested one that they won was Jeanne Shaheen beat Scott Brown in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Now,
and it turned out Virginia was contested, and nobody thought it was contested, but it was seriously
contested. Yeah, but that
contested.
was terrible news because they thought Mark Warner would win in a landslide.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And it became contested, and he barely won.
And Jeanne Shaheen won by against one of the worst candidates that Republicans threw out there.
Yeah.
She barely won.
Mm-hmm. And now, the good news was people who ran on progressive messaging, Al Franken and then Senator Merkley from Oregon, they won, and they won easily. They were not contested. They won easily.
And the one contested seat, the seriously contested seat where a guy did run, Bruce Braley, as a progressive, he ran a very, 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 very bad campaign and made some very, very, very bad classic campaign mistakes, not messaging mistakes, not about issues, but about connecting with people, and he was, as a result, not liked. I mean, he bungled that campaign. That was not a campaign that he lost because he defended Obamacare.
I don't think Bruce Braley is a bad politician, but he did run a poor campaign in that particular instance. Now, the person he was running against was Joanie Ernst. Okay. Now, her ads, which we did a mashup of here, give you a sense of the goofball ads that the Republicans were running, but they worked, and we'll show you why they worked when we show you the Democratic ads. Okay. But here's what happened.
A lieutenant colonel who carries more than just lipstick in her purse. Joanie Ernst will take aim at wasteful spending. And once she sets her sights on Obamacare, Joanie's gonna unload.
I'm Joanie Ernst. I grew up castrating hogs on an Iowa farm. So when I get to Washington, I'll know how to cut pork. Give me a shot. Let's make them squeal.
Wow. I look at that ad and I think there's some percentage chance that she's psychotic.
Well, that ad looks like it was an SNL skit. It was amazing, right? But it included everything that hardcore conservatives love, right? Guns, she's gonna unload on Obamacare. She's a woman who talks about how she doesn't just have lipstick in her bag. I don't know,
there must have been some part. We shortened that ad, is that right?
Yeah, we put two together.
Hogs.
There had to be a cross somewhere in that. There had to be a church part of that ad, didn't there?
No, she castrates the pig with a cross.
Oh, okay.
So that's very offensive, right? So she's running like this, and you think, how do you lose to what appears to be someone with serious mental issues, right? I mean, when she goes, let's make them squeal, I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, I don't want her around kids, right? Yeah. So, but no, the good people of Iowa decided to elect her. Why? Okay. Now, in that case, we said Bruce Braley ran a poor campaign. But when you go to Arkansas, for example, you get a sense why the Republicans won. Because the Democratic opposition was, well, I'm kind of like them, but not as good. Okay? So look at this so-called Democrat with one of the worst political ads I've ever seen.
I'm not ashamed to say that I believe in God and I believe in His Word. The Bible teaches us no one has all the answers, only God does. And neither political party is always right. This is my compass, my North Star. It gives me comfort and guidance to do what's best for Arkansas. I'm Mark Pryor, and I approve this message because this is who I am and what I believe.
Okay, now why is that miserable? Because, people in Washington believe that was a good ad. I went to Washington after the election, I gave a speech about it, and people were like, wow, we're offended that you think that's a bad ad.
It's a terrible ad. If you don't know anything about politics, you just assume that guy's Republican. You would not think that Pryor's a Democrat.
No. So two enormous issues. First of all, when he says in the beginning of the ad, I'm not ashamed to say that I believe in the Bible, right? No, you never start that way.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it subconsciously tells the audience, you are ashamed to say that you believe in the Bible. It's like when Christine O'Donnell, that goofball that was the witch in Delaware, started her ad by saying, I'm not a witch. Well, like most people didn't know that was the issue. And you just framed it for them as, the question is whether I'm a witch or I'm not a witch. Right. And Mark Pryor starts the conversation where the question is, am I an irreligious prick that hates the Bible as the Republicans tell you, or do I actually want to thump you over the head with it, right? Either side is not pleasant. It's not it's a disaster.
It was passive and weak. And then he says there's no excitement generated from it.
Exactly, and in the middle he says, neither party is right. Well, then why should we vote for you, jackass? Yeah. Okay? So it's him running away from the Democrats, running away from Obama, and they think that's smart in Washington. And what happened? He got butchered like a pig in Iowa.
He nearly got, he's an incumbent, three-term incumbent senator, I believe. 2 terms? 3 terms, I think 3. He nearly got 40% of the vote. Nearly got 40. And that guy ran. The Republicans were so afraid of him in 2008. He was unopposed in 2008.
Jesus,
unopposed in 2008.
One of the things that I think crystallized our preparations leading up to our election coverage of how low our expectations, I guess I should say, for the Democrats were, that we started to focus almost exclusively on ballot initiatives.
Yeah, there was good news with ballot
there
initiatives.
Was some good news.
Which was my beat that night.
Exactly.
You know, we have a bunch of states that have legalized recreational pot. A bunch of states tried to pass personhood amendments and they lost. So there's good news on that front. But.
And minimum wage has been increased in 4 deeply red states. Yeah. So on the issues, they agree with us. That's what makes the Democratic losses even more disastrous. That when you actually put a progressive issue on the ballot, it won overwhelmingly. 69% in deep red states, in Nebraska and Alaska, and the list goes on. Yet the knucklehead Democrats lost in those same exact states because they ran away from their issues.
And they ran from Obamacare.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who I guess will announce sometime in the next couple of months whether he's going to sort of run a outsiders, as much as a senator can run an outsiders campaign, but an outsiders progressive campaign for president, wrote a nice piece this week in the Huffington Post saying what you've said many times, which is that this is a progressive country. And if you ask people on issues about whether they're progressive or not, that it's not even really that close. Yeah. But yet somehow, you can't consistently get. But I am glad that Mary Landrieu's gone, and I'm glad that Mark Pryor's gone. I'm glad going back that Ben Nelson's gone. Like at some point, it's going to be refreshing not to have to worry about those guys.
Let's end on this clip because it is perfectly emblematic of what happened in the 2014 elections. This was when Alison Lundgren Grimes in Kentucky, running against Mitch McConnell, was asked, did you vote for President Obama in the last election? Watch.
Did you vote for President Obama, 2008, 2012?
You know, this election, it isn't about the president. It's about making sure we put Kentuckians back to work.
Did you vote for it?
I was actually in 08 a delegate for Hillary Clinton, and I think that Kentuckians know I'm a Clinton Democrat through and through. I respect the sanctity of the ballot box, and I know that the members of this editorial board do as well.
So you're not going to answer?
Again, I don't think that the president is on the ballot as much as Mitch McConnell might want him to be. It's my name, and it's going to be me who's holding him accountable for the failed decisions and votes that he has made against the people of Kentucky.
So when she ran away from Obama in that incredibly political, cheesy, slimy way, that was it. She was done. Because it's not just a matter of, you're a Democrat or you're a Republican or Obama's polling well or not polling well. Are you a leader? Are you a person of principle? Are you a slimy politician? And when you don't make your own case, you make the case of the other party, and you're so embarrassed of your own party that you won't even say that you voted for your president. People get repulsed by you, and she lost in a landslide.
I don't understand why she didn't get, or why other people don't get, the same answer that she gave after she wouldn't answer, right, about that he's not on the ballot. You could say, I voted for Obama, and then you can give that answer. Yeah. And then you can condemn them for asking it. And then you've given the answer, and then you've taken it back. I voted for Obama. Of course I voted for Obama. You know I did. And now you realize you're playing right into, that's a question Mitch McConnell wants you to ask. I'm a Democrat. I voted for the Democrat because Democrats stand up for this, this, and this. And now you're going to, in this campaign where there are real issues on the table, and you're going to turn this as to whether my private ballot, the private ballot I cast was for Barack Obama or not? Am I disappointed in Obama? Yeah. This election is not about him, and I resent you asking. Well, all of a sudden you're like, oh, look at Allison.
I would go
Lundgren.
I hear you, and I would go one step further. Of course, I would say, at the end of the campaign, Mitch McConnell started running on supporting Connect, which is the Kentucky version of Obamacare. I'd be like, yes, I voted for the guy that Mitch McConnell is actively supporting now by supporting Connect.
Yeah,
Apparently, Mitch McConnell thinks that Obamacare is fantastic. So I guess he should thank me for voting for Obama, right? And then that changes the conversation entirely. It puts Mitch McConnell on the defense. It gets people talking about, wait, is Obamacare good? Is it connected to Connect, which we all like in Kentucky?
I would have answered it that way too. But either way, you combine our answers, and the editorial board there, whatever paper that was, they would have been peeing down both legs.
As a good Texas sheriff once said.